The Nintendo Switch 2 has leaked. Is it real? Is it fake? What are our thoughts? We talk about it today. My friends, welcome to the Mario Matter, your favorite Nintendo podcast with your host, Nintendo YouTuber, EmSwizzle. And what is on the agenda today, my friends? We start off the show in a few seconds here by going over Nintendo news. Nintendo is suing somebody. We have Nintendo announcements. It's all great stuff in this world of Nintendo. After that, we dive into our thoughts on the brand new, newly surfaced Nintendo Switch 2 leaks. There's a bunch of images going around of the next Nintendo console, supposedly. We talk about if it's real, if it's fake, our thoughts, what do we like, what don't we like, all that kind of stuff. After that, we answer your questions in the Q&A segment. And who is we, you might ask? Who is we? My friends, our guest today on the show is Nintendo YouTuber, Nintendo ambassador with 950 plus thousand subscribers. It is AbdallahSmash. You know him, you love him. We had a fantastic conversation today. He's a great guy. I mean, I can't say enough good things. I feel like if you have never listened to this podcast, this is the episode to listen to. And even if you are a seasoned veteran of listening to this show, I mean, it was one of my favorites. We had a great time. I would urge you to listen to it. As you know, you can probably tell by the video here. There are timestamps throughout the video in the description and the audio if you are on Spotify or Apple. You can skip wherever you want. With that said, let's not delay what you want to hear about. Let Bruce Buffer read the intro, and let's get to talking to Abdallah, meeting Abdallah, and talking about tons of Nintendo news. Let's go.
Welcome to the Mario Matter, the #1 Nintendo podcast.
Abdallah, how is it going, my friend?
Yo, it is good. What is happening? How are ya?
I'm doing swell over here. Lots of Nintendo stuff to discuss. It's always a great week when we have that kind of stuff. Have you seen the topics? We have some juicy things, my friend.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to go over them. There's a lot happening in the world of Nintendo right now. Some drama, some crazy speculations, lots of things.
For sure. And our first little drama speculation thing is actually a piece of news that, for us anyway, broke last night. Wednesday night, we are recording on Thursdays as we do. Wednesday night, this piece of news broke. And when I saw it, I was like, man, if the Switch 2 stuff didn't happen, that was our podcast title. Because it's a big piece of news. So I'll go ahead and read this. Then we'll get your thoughts and we'll talk about it. Nintendo is suing Palworld, the Pokemon with Guns game, as you might remember it. It's something that's been kind of in the works. First up, Abdallah, did you see this coming at some point? Because I feel like it was a thing that we thought might happen, but then like kind of didn't happen. Did you still expect this?
Yeah, definitely did. I mean, just looking at all the comparisons, the side-by-side comparisons of the PALs versus Pokemon, it was pretty blatant that there was that concept of, oh, hey, you know, copy everything, but change it ever so slightly so we don't get in trouble. I felt that energy a lot throughout a lot of the concepts for the character design. I mean, but when it comes down to it, right, like you're either on one side or the other. One side of the argument is, well, Nintendo, get good, because this game was actually pretty fun, regardless of any copyright infringement, allegedly. Or you're on the side of like, hey, you know what, this is a blatant copy. So like, how dare you do it, right? Nintendo doesn't have a monopoly on monster battling collecting games. If you take a look at it, Dragon Quest was the pioneer with that. And you can see a lot of similarities from Dragon Quest enemies and Generation 1 Pokemon. They're like almost the same. So I don't think it's setting the precedent of Nintendo and Game Freak saying we own all, you know, the monster battling collecting genres. But it's more along the lines of, I think it was, hey, yo, you guys blatantly took some models and therefore, you know, that's not okay, right? It's a really, really fine line. And a lot of people are divided on that.
Mm-hmm. And as we know, Nintendo, kind of the king of lawsuits out here. They love to sue. And I'll go ahead and read the official statement that was put out by Nintendo. There's some gibberish at the beginning, so I'll start here. Nintendo, together with the Pokemon Company, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocket Pair Inc., the creators of Palworld. There's some more gibberish on September 18th. This lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary action against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. Now, here's the interesting thing. I was, this morning checking if any more news came out on this topic and all of our topics here to run through. And here's what I found. I found this, which I believe it, but I'm not quite sure the source. Here's I do know the source. Toyo Securities analyst said, Nintendo filing this lawsuit for patent infringement, not copyright violation, means it has given up making the case that Palworld's characters are similar to Pokemon's. So I guess it's not a, similarity thing with the pals, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's the speculation, right? We don't really know, right? Is it because you copied and pasted a tail of a Pokemon and added it to a slightly different sprite? Is it that? Or what patent are you talking about? There's no physical way that Nintendo can sue them saying, oh, this is a monster battling, collecting thing and we own that genre. They're never going to win that. Otherwise, why isn't Dragon Quest doing it? Right? Or every other monster battling, genre doing that as well. You got Temtem, another indie developer that came out before Palworld. You got Yokai Watch. Nintendo doesn't own the genre. So I don't know how that's going to, hold up in court. So what else do you feel that what patent do you feel Nintendo has grounds for with this?
And to back up what you're saying, there's an article saying the Palworld developer has no idea why Nintendo's suing them. No one knows, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. When Palworld was huge, months ago, right? It was breaking records with how cool it was because it was a great game, Nintendo would have loved to have that concept of an idea, but they didn't, right? And so Palworld did what Nintendo didn't, right?
Don't.
Yeah, exactly. So same concept. But for them to actually not be aware of all the comparisons, the side by sides that people were doing with the actual models, I think that's really naive. And it's almost pleading the fifth. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about with these models or anything like that. So, the concept of patent, I think the only grounds that Nintendo has is the character designs, because I've seen a lot of really, really convincing side-by-sides where, they take a tail off of a Pokemon like Primarina, for example, they literal model of it, and then they put it on something else, which I think that's the only grounds that they have for it. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. What are you thinking? That they don't understand where it's coming from? Do they have an entire team that's scouring the internet to learn what people are saying about? I don't buy it one bit.
It's tough to say. The biggest crime that I've seen is just the similar Pokemon. I saw something today where they took 4 of the craziest examples of where they totally just robbed Pokemon's designs, like how you were saying. I forget the Pokemon names or anything. But I feel like that's the biggest crime. It's going to be interesting to see what actually comes out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, after you said that, not believing Palworld about them not knowing what they're suing for, I don't really believe it either. It's going to be interesting to see. But now we can jump to something else that is in the news that is very interesting that I wanted to dive into here. There's not too much to it, but there's some rumors swirling, and the piece of news here reads, a bunch of game devs have been invited to Nintendo of America, which is leading people to believe it is Nintendo Switch 2 related. So I first saw this, and most of the internet first saw this when the Limited Run Game CEO was invited. He posted a tweet saying, thanks to our partners over at Nintendo of America. Then Pathia Games, who I believe makes a game called My Time at Sandrock and My Time at something else, they announced a brand new game for Nintendo Switch 2. There's a lot of Switch 2 talk, not too much to unpack here, but do you buy this, Abdallah?
I do not. I do not buy that. Well, like I kind of yes and kind of no, right?
Yeah.
You have to think about it, right, from a developer standpoint. Inevitably, is Nintendo going to invite developers over to take a look at the Switch 2 so they know what they're developing for? Yes, right? I think our audience, all of us here in the Nintendo sphere, we're just so desperate for information that we're just going to like grasp onto everything. Anything that we can see over here. Limited Run Games CEO coming over there. Okay, like Limited Run Games, man. What are they doing? Like, it's just, okay, big deal. I think like right now, it's just, we just want any bit of information we can get our hands on. Like rumor had it a while ago that dev kits were, sent out for the Switch 2, and the developers got some behind the scenes like, oh, this is what we're looking at. Of course that has to be the thing. Like that's naturally what happens in the development process. If you don't give the dev kits out and invite people over to take a look at the dev kits, how are they going to develop for the new system, right? If they don't do that, we're going to have another, Wii U failure on our hands where none of the developers wanted to develop for 2 screens, right? They just wanted to, play their game and just like put it over there. So they didn't really pay that much attention to it. So I think right now the concept of like, ooh, these people got invited over to Nintendo, like it's just cool, man. Just keep with a grain of salt, right? Just keep with a grain of salt. I think we're just trying to grasp for anything. Of course, the Switch 2 is coming soon. Like we know that. They've already said that. So next year is going to be the big year for it. It's just now we have to be patient while Nintendo, just pushes as much regular, base Nintendo Switch at us to sell off all the extra inventory before the new one comes out. It's basic marketing.
Yeah, and I definitely want to emphasize you saying that people are kind of clinging to any kind of information, and I'm part of the problem. Like I'm, the title of this podcast is Switch 2 Leaks. I'm part of it. I'm clinging on to certain things. But like last week, there was a tweet from Nintendo New York saying our store will close at 7 p.m. today. I believe instead of like 8 p.m. People are like Switch 2 presentation. Like I joked about it last podcast, but. And I'm part of it, but I do feel like we are just kind of clinging on to certain things. For me personally, it does raise a bit of like an eyebrow, kind of like, oh, maybe is there something going on? But I don't know. It reads kind of strange to me. It does.
Well, like at the same time, like you gotta understand that, like, of course they're gonna invite people over for that.
Right.
Like it's just a matter of time when or if it's public, right? And then even if that was the case, what? What of it? Like, how does that affect you and I? It doesn't. Maybe it raised the hype meter, like, oh my gosh. But it's like, the thing's coming, so just chill and like let them do their thing. And let's wait for the cool Nintendo Direct, first quarter of 2025, when they have like a release date or they're going to actually announce it, right? It's hype, man. That's just what it is. And that's what people do. And you know what? It's cool. Jump aboard the hype train. I'm all for it. But like at the same time, you just got to take it with a grain of salt and kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. You said quarter 1 of next year. Do you think it'll be announced this year or next year?
It's definitely not going to be announced this year. No way. That would shoot themselves in the foot big time.
Yeah, because as you know, and everything.
Yeah, like they're still trying to like push out as much like content as they can for Nintendo Switch, right? We got Jamboree, we got Mario Luigi Brothership, we got this new Zelda game coming out later on next week. There's a lot of things that they still have to do. It's not like a loaded Christmas season like it used to be. Like last year's Christmas season and holiday season was jam-packed, right? But like as you think about it, we are technically in the end of the Nintendo Switch life cycle because they already have the Switch 2 or the successor, the Nintendo Switch successor. They've already like announced that it is there and they're working on it. So they will not announce it at all, because if they announce it, people who have limited budgets will say, oh, maybe I should get this new Nintendo Switch bundle with Mario Kart and a 12-month Nintendo Switch Online membership. Or maybe I shouldn't get that. I should save my money. I should save my money for the new Nintendo Switch when it comes out. So it's just basic marketing. You don't announce any of your new stuff, especially if you're holding on to millions of units of Nintendo Switch that you've already produced. So yeah, we will not hear about like actual like news drops until maybe beginning or mid next year. The brand new fiscal year happens like around March or something like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've been hoping for something this year, and I honestly did predict this year, but someone else said it to me. Nintendo wouldn't have put out fiscal year. They would have just said this year, if they were going to do it this year. That kind of makes me think a little bit like maybe it actually is next year. And you make a great point. Like we have Jamboree left, Mario and Luigi, Echoes of Wisdom next week. If you do it, say, January, you're only competing with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Like, there's not, too many obstacles in your way if you do it next year. It makes more sense, but there's a lot of hype right now, so I love to buy into it as a Nintendo fan. But will it happen? Probably not. What will happen, though? Sorry, do you want to say something?
Oh, no, I say you make a great point, right? Like Nintendo's release calendar is so bare, right? Especially with 2025, nothing else was announced other than this one team that like remade a Wii game. Wow, way to buy us some time, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's definitely a thing. Like nothing's happened, nothing's announced for February, nothing's announced for March. So like, right around March is right when they're going to start really building that hype. That's my prediction because that's when their fiscal year starts. So we'll see exactly with that. But you had a great point of like competing, right? You don't necessarily want the Switch 2 to compete with the Switch like in the middle of it, right? Unless you're going to do some sort of like dual release of a game. Which they've done with Nintendo Wii. Remember, Twilight Princess was launched on GameCube and Wii. And then we also had Breath of the Wild, which was on Wii U and Switch. So unless they're planning on doing something like that, I mean, who knows what's going to happen.
And even this time last year, we knew about games happening next year. Like, we knew Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. We knew Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. All we know is Donkey Kong, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
That's all we know.
Yeah.
So it does clear some way. But something that is confirmed and is happening that was announced last week was there are new Nintendo Switch bundles coming to a store near you. These are kind of the holiday bundles, the bundles to buy this holiday season. We have two Nintendo bundles releasing this fall. One with the standard Switch model, and it comes with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and a 12-month Switch Online individual membership. It's $300, which means if you combine all the prices, all together, you save $80, $60 on Mario Kart, $20 on the membership. And then there's an OLED bundle with the exact same contents, OLED, white Joy-Cons. It's $350, so you still save $80 because it's $60 Mario Kart, $20 membership. I mean, we have Switches. We aren't really going to buy these. I mean, it's just cool to kind of put it out there. Do you like when they do this, though? I'm not even going to buy it, but I just some reason like that they do this sort of thing. It's nice to see in stores. Oh, holiday bundle,
Yeah, it's great for like first time, Switch owners. And you've got parents that are like, what are we going to get our kid? Does he have a Nintendo Switch? No, he doesn't. Okay, let's get one in his hands for the holidays. And like I was touching base earlier, like Nintendo, they're sitting on millions of like unsold units and like all of the hardware pieces that go inside the Nintendo Switch, they're sitting on all of that stuff still, right? And are they necessarily going to use those same components in the new Nintendo Switch successor? Odds are they're probably not. So this is like the perfect like last ditch effort to like run through all of their old inventory. So it's great. It's great for new generations of people. And like the standard Switch bundle, you get like what, $80 value, comes with Mario Kart, the best selling game. And like when it comes to parents, like they know Mario Kart, right? We're at the generation right now where, people that grew up with Mario Kart are now having kids or have already had kids and they grew up with all Nintendo and nostalgia. And if you were to ask any parent or older adult, hey, name a Nintendo game, odds are they're going to know Mario Kart. So it was genius to bundle it all together. And the OLED is like, what, $50 more?
Yeah.
Cool. Just grab that. Why not? I think it's great. Obviously, you and I aren't going to get it. A lot of the people, in this podcast that are listening right now, probably not going to get it because they already own a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
But it's a great entry point at a really, really steep discount for like $300. That's not bad considering what the PS5 Pro was announced at like $700. Like,
bad.
What are you doing?
Yeah, that's bad. But it's smart. You bundle the #1 best-selling Switch game.
Yeah.
Do you think, obviously they do holiday bundles all the time, but do you think this is them like trying to squeeze out the extra few million so then they can pass the PS2 and the best-selling console of all time? It seems like it, and it's smart.
Why not? Why not, man?
For sure.
Like, I don't think they're focusing on trying to like get a record number. I think it's more along the lines of like, how much money can we sell of the old stuff that's just sitting around collecting dust? Like, we gotta sell it, because last thing they want to do is like heavily discount it, right? Nintendo's very protective of their, first party IPs and everything like that. You barely find any like actually clearance priced or discounted consoles or like first party games, right? That's not a thing. So that's the last thing that they want to do is like, oh, these are collecting dust right now. What do we do for the final marketing push to move these units? If we don't do that, then, we're going to be sitting on all this hardware. So
yeah,
it's rough.
It's cool to see, but we aren't going to pick it up. But something that we might pick up, or maybe not. 4 new games have been added. I shouldn't say new games. 4 old games have been added to Nintendo Switch Online, the SNES pack. Plus, there's even an exciting rumor that may or may not be true, but is interesting to discuss and talk about. The 4 games added to the SNES Switch Online pack are Battletoads Double Dragon, which, based on my little bit of research from the Nintendo description, is a beat-em-up game, Big Run, which is a racing game, Cosmo Gang the Puzzle, which is a falling block puzzle game, kind of like Tetris, and then, do you want to help me pronounce this one? I have no idea.
Kunio-kun no Dodgeball? I don't even. Well, let's just call it that.
Yeah, Kunio-kun.
Some sort of. Yeah.
Kunio-kun no Dodgeball. It's weird that it's no Dodgeball, because it is Dodgeball, but it's Japanese. I understand it. Those 4 games are added. Honestly, I only get really excited when they add either a Game Boy Advance game or an N64 game. Does this do anything for you? Like, are you going to go rush to your Switch to go and play these?
I honestly, in my generation, I grew up with the NES. So I love Battletoads, man. Battletoads and Double Dragon, really, really fun game. It's not the best Battletoads game, but it was a really cool concept back in the NES days of like beat 'em up genres, right? You had Double Dragon, and then you had Battletoads, which were 2 different IPs, and then they come together in one game. That was like one of the first collaborations that got a lot of young kids excited. It's a really, really fun one. Nowadays with the newer generations, I'm sure you can just like press the A button, boot it up, play it for 5 minutes and kind of get the gist of what it is. But way back in the day when we didn't have Nintendo Switch, this was actually a cool game. So yeah, I'm a huge Battletoads fan, one of my favorite genres and game series on the NES. But I've never played Big Run, Cosmo Gang the Puzzle, or Kunio-kun no Dodgeball. Like, I don't necessarily need those. I'm not so hype about that. So like, cool, yay, more 4 Super Nintendo old games. Like, Thank you, Nintendo, you're so great.
Yeah.
When we have an entire library of SNES games that we still don't have on the platform. And I think, honestly, that's Nintendo's big push maybe for the next system is everything's here, right? They just renew the licensing for all these old games. And it's like, you have this entire collection at your fingertips. Bring back like the Wii Shop, right? Like all of those things, and just like allow us to buy those games again versus getting an emulator and pirating all of them. Like, what do you expect, man?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a topic for another time. But like, am I excited for these games? Mid. Kind of mid. Battletoads is exciting. The other ones, maybe I'll try for 5 minutes, but that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we have you who grew up in the NES, generation, because I grew up in the GameCube generation, so I'm kind of limited as to my knowledge there. But that's cool. We do have a rumor though from somebody on Twitter who I've seen named Luigi Blood, and they are a data miner. Of course, any kind of rumor, take it with a grain of salt here. They apparently have found evidence, and this is kind of making the rounds online on articles and everything, that Nintendo has been toying around with the possibility of using the SNES mouse for games on Switch Online, which could mean a game like Mario Paint could come to Switch Online. Do you buy this, or would you play it? I think that's actually very cool. I would personally give it a spin if that did happen.
Yeah, but you got to think about like the interactivity of it, right? Okay, so if it's like mouse compatibility, are they going to release a Nintendo Switch Bluetooth replica Super Nintendo mouse like they've done with the N64 controller, the Nintendo NES controller, right? Like they've re-released those for use with Nintendo Switch. But do you think that they're going to do that? Like that's a lot of manufacturing. That's a lot of, just like marketing push. Even if they make it exclusive to Nintendo's like My Nintendo Reward Shop, it's still something that's like are people going to really use it? And then if you look it up, like for generations of old, if you say, hey, what Super Nintendo game uses the SNES mouse, everyone and their mom's going to say Mario Paint, sure. But like, there's so many Japanese exclusive games that also use this thing too. So are we necessarily going to get all of those games? Just like a quick Google search will net you like at least 30 to 40 different titles that have that mouse capability on there. The meme ones being like Mario's early years, fun with letters, right? Fun with numbers, Mario's early years, preschool fun. Like those are all compatible. But like, is that hype? No, it's really not. Is Mario Paint hype? Yeah, maybe. Are you going to spend $30 on like a little 2-button primitive mouse just to play Mario Paint on? No, you're probably not. So odds are like it's maybe a data mine of like Mario Paint coming to it, and you'll just probably use a joystick as the cursor, which is not necessarily the same thing, but you can get some fun out of it. It's a really tough one for me because like, again, I've only played Mario Paint. I actually owned that and I grew up playing that. It was cute. But like, I don't think that's any kind of real fun hype when it comes down to it.
For sure. And I feel like, as you were saying, a $30 wireless SNES mouse packaged in the great Switch Online packaging, I don't think that sells very well. I just don't. And, if you buy the NES Switch Online, controller, you can use it for there must be like 100 games on there by now. For the N64 controller, you can use it for Mario 64. All of the classics, SNES controller, same thing. SNES mouse, I don't know how much you're going to be able to use that. And it just doesn't seem very attractive to me as a product. I think I would skip it. And also, if they did bring over a game like Mario Paint or any of the mouse games, I feel like they would give you the option to use the stick as the cursor. So I don't think it'll sell well if it happens, but we'll have to see. I would like it if Mario Paint came over, but it just seems kind of like a stretch, to be honest. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you could even look on the eShop right now, and there are some titles that will allow you to click and paint, like some different color books and whatnot, for like pennies on the dollar. Such cheap eShop games. So if you're looking at like clicking and painting, then maybe try those. But I don't know. I wouldn't hold your breath for Mario Paint, let alone a peripheral that's just like only used for one game or a whole library of Japanese only games, when our current drip rate of Super Nintendo games is what, maybe 2 or 3 a month, if that. I don't think so, man. I think it's a miss. Miss
for sure. But what's not a miss over the past weekend was Splatoon 3 had their grand festival. I like to go over the Splatfest. I know many people don't play them, so I'll run through it quick. There was a big old Splatfest last weekend, arguably the biggest one. Team Past, Team Present, and Team Future were the 3 teams in the Splatoon 3 Splatfest. If you don't know what a Splatfest is, basically you pick a team and you play, and basically if you do good, your team wins. And Team Past won. But the big piece of news that I wanted to bring up here is Nintendo has announced they're done with Splatoon 3. And there's some people upset about it, but I feel like, what other game, aside from maybe Animal Crossing, got 2 years of consistent update? Like, there's not many of those from Nintendo. I think it was great. Did you ever play the Grand Festival Splatfest last weekend? Or what are your thoughts on Splatoon 3 stopping updates? Give me your spiel on the topic here.
Oh man, I love Splatoon. Trust me, I played Splatoon on Wii U. Absolutely love that game. Yep. Played all of Splatoon 2 and the DLC. So much fun. Splatoon 3, it was great, right? Did I play the Grand Festival? No, I did not. I honestly, to be honest with you, I got burnt out of Splatoon like 2 or 3 times simply because it's like that instant shut off where they're just like, all right, we're kind of done. Like that's like low key a slap in the face for me. Do I expect Nintendo to like continuously update a game every single year for like 10 years? No, but I think the life of that should be more than like 3 or 4, and then add the ability for, paid DLC so that you can, spend those earnings off of paid DLC and microtransactions to pay your staff to continue the game up and running for those of the people that don't pay. right? So like when Splatoon 1 was announced that it was going to get shut off, and then like we're just going to really support Splatoon 2, I'm like, okay, I guess. So then I played Splatoon 2 a lot, and then it's like, oh, we're going to shut off Splatoon 2. I'm like, dude, come on, man. I really like this game. I'm putting all these hours into it.
Yep.
And then it's just like, oh, you're going to shut me off. And it's like, dude, I got burnt twice. So like with Splatoon 3, I was just treading very carefully. I played like maybe one Splatfest. I did the whole campaign, 100% loved it. But I knew since I got burnt 2 times before, I wasn't going to get my hopes up. It's just the pattern. And Nintendo does that, man. And like I saw it coming a mile away. There's going to be a last Splatfest. And then after the last Splatfest, you're just left with, oh man, that sucks. Why can't they do it? And then you're just whining and complaining and nothing is ever going to change. You're just setting yourself up for, hard feelings and disappointment. So I took a step back and I'm like, I know this is going to happen and I don't want to set myself up for that. Trust me, I love the game, love the new updates with the weapons and the different game modes and amiibo functionality. Literally the only game on Nintendo Switch right now with amiibo functionality for the new amiibo. So I love that, but man, I hate getting burned. And like, I can feel all the people that are upset about, oh man, the Grand Festival, it's over. That sucks. Or I feel for them. But at the same time, like, you low-key knew this was coming. Yeah. So what else are you going to do, man? Just enjoy whatever makes you happy, right?
Mm-hmm. I thank them for at least giving us 2 years of updates. Because some games, I mean, they'll drop them off after a little while. Splatoon is nice to keep getting updates. I am sad that it's kind of ending support. Of course, 2 years of time makes sense. It could go on for a bit longer, but I feel like it's nice when they are adding new things and updates in Splatfest. It just feels so alive, and I'll log on for 2 seconds, act like I'm all excited, and then hop off after 10 minutes or so. Yep. I'm kind of sad about it, but
where do you draw the line on, what's an acceptable amount of time for updates on a game? I'll pass that to you. Like, what do you think is good? Do you think it's like, make the game and never update it because that takes dev dollars and payroll that we don't want to deal with? Or do you like games like Fortnite, which really pioneered this forever game and it makes millions of dollars? So like, where do you find what works best?
I think it depends on the game. Something like Nintendo World Championships, I mean, you can add like one little, because they keep changing the challenges or whatever. I'm not sure, that actually might be automated. But like, if they were adding updates to that kind of game, I would say a couple months. But Splatoon, I probably put it, 2 years is kind of short. I probably say for a game like that I feel like, this could be argued, kind of reliant on updates. Whenever I see a Splatoon update, I'm like re-intrigued in the whole game, and it makes me more excited to go and play. Of course, it runs on its own, but I think the updates are very nice. But I would say this is tough for me. For Splatoon, you go 3 years. Animal Crossing got 2 years, I believe. It went until 2022. I mean, sorry, 21 with the big old 2.0 update. 2-3 years, sweet spot, I would say.
Yeah, like I'm really on the side of like, I want them to go all the way with it, right? If you're going to put this game over here, like, you better frickin' update this game because you have so many millions of people that are so excited for it. And what it really takes is just that dedicated dev team that does it. And if you don't want to pay them the dev dollars, or you want to use them for, other projects, then like introduce those microtransactions, right? That's our generation right now. Our generation is microtransactions and, battle passes, monthly subscriptions to give them more money for development, right? So like with Splatoon 3, I get it. That's the new Switch successor is coming out. But like, don't shut this down now, man. Like, keep on going with it. Introduce DLC. And you bring up Animal Crossing, dude. I'm so like heartbroken on that one.
Yeah.
That like last update, or like, hey man, we were gonna, drip feed you like 1 or 2 little items every month throughout like 2021, 2022. But we're like, no, I don't think so. Take it all. Yeah. And don't talk to us. Mm-hmm. It's like, they just like hard cut us off and ghosted us. And so that was like 2 or 3 years ago, man. Yeah. And like, that's not okay for me. You have games like the mobile games, right? You take a look at DNA, the partner for all the mobile games like Fire Emblem Heroes. Like, they continuously bring out something something new a month. And yeah, arguably, that's really where all the money is at, because that's where the apps are. If you take a look at, Sensor Tower, and you see like how much money Fire Emblem Heroes makes every month on iOS, and then how much money that makes on Android, it's millions of dollars every month. It's like, of course, it's more incentive for them to keep on making new things. I think that that's what Nintendo needs to embrace with their bread and butter games that they release on Nintendo Switch. It's, I love a game that it's polished, it's finished for like a good year, and then they introduce DLC versus day one DLC, which is very bad. So like, I think that those kind of concepts is what Nintendo really is lacking on, because it kind of gives a distrust from the end consumer. Because like back in my day, we just got a cartridge. And GameCube, right? Yeah. You got a cartridge and that was it. You put Smash Bros. Melee in there, you put, Double Dash in there, and that was it. That was your $60 game. There's no such thing as DLC. But now times are changing. Like, we need more development dollars on all these games so that they last more than 2 years, right? Like, I don't know, man. Yeah. It's a tough and a fine line to cross. So you just got to really trust that they know what they're doing. We'll see.
Yeah. Last thing that I'll say, though, at some point, I feel like you do have to cut it, though, because the only thing that, you pay the $60 for Splatoon 3, the only thing that they really benefited from was making the DLC, because that's what, they're getting more money for. With the updates, it's work that you're not really getting paid for, though. Like, with DNA, as you brought up, they can, I feel like, keep making new things because you're going to pay as you were, saying, I'm just kind of emphasizing it, the whole microtransaction thing. Like, you're going to keep on paying for. With Splatoon 3 Splatfest, like, they don't have to be doing it. Like, they kind of got your money. I think it for them makes sense to stop after 2 years. But as you said, I would love for it to keep on going. Even if they can just... how hard for them is a Splatfest to make?
That is
100,
exactly it. Right. That's it. And you schedule them, you let them go. It's the same thing as a server. It's like, you really have to, like, sure, you and I are not game devs. We're not behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. We don't know exactly how much dev dollars it takes to make all that. And how much upkeep it takes to do all that. We don't know this information. But, like, how hard could it possibly be to just keep that going, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Keep it going, man. Like, we don't need brand new weapons every other month or anything like that, but just keep the Splatfest going. Like, that's something cool that people can continuously come back to. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Nintendo did it. They just put the nail in the coffin on Splatoon 3, and they're just gearing up for the next successor, right?
Yep, and I'm excited for it. And speaking of that next successor, and speaking of what keeps on going around the news articles, I have great transitions, but these are fantastic. I'm just kidding. But our next segment is going over a big ol' leak, rumor, unconfirmed piece of information that I wanted to make the main topic here because it's kind of taken over the gaming world, whether it's real or it's not real. We'll get into whether or not we think it's real. But the Nintendo Switch 2 has apparently leaked. Images of it have apparently leaked, and it's juicy stuff. Let's go ahead and not delay it. Let's go ahead and talk about the Switch 2 leaks. Folks, if you were scrolling on Twitter the tail end of this week, the week of... Can I count? 1, 2. The week of September 16th. That's right. This Monday. If you were scrolling on Twitter, or X as they call it, you would have probably seen Nintendo Switch 2 has leaked. If you were looking on YouTube, you would have seen it. If you looked on your grandma's TV, you might have seen it. Who knows where you might have seen it? But this has taken over the gaming world. There are images of this thing. And for our audio listeners, I know it's pretty visual, so I'm going to drop the first link in the description of this podcast. I will leave a link to all of the images, if I can do that, if they don't strike me down or anything. But we have information here. So I'll go ahead and read some of the leaked specs for the Nintendo Switch 2. Then we'll talk about these images and do we like them? Do we hate them? One thing to say before I begin, these are rumors, not confirmed. We don't know if these are true. But there are some people who previously haven't believed leaks, believing this, and people backing it up and all sorts of things. So let's go here. What leaked is the Switch 2 itself. It'll have 2 Joy-Cons, left Joy-Con, right Joy-Con. It'll have a dock. 12 gigabytes of RAM, which if you know specs and stuff is pretty good. 256 gigabytes of internal storage. It'll have a NFC reader, so Amiibo should still be around, hopefully. A built-in microphone, if that leak is true. Please bring back Nintendogs. I would love it. And the kind of takeaway here is people are claiming, I mean, not people, like, articles and, big sites are claiming it'll be about as powerful as a PS4 Pro. A little bit more powerful. Now, with these images here, Abdallah, I want to get your take. I'll put it on screen. Audio listeners, there's a link down below to look at the thing. Looking at this, it looks a lot like a Switch OLED, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It almost seems like Nintendo still has a lot of leftover parts that they manufactured, and they're like, hey, how can we reuse all of these for the next one? Apparently, like, rumor has it with these pictures over here is that some sort of I don't know, behind the scenes manufacturer like person, maybe like a peripheral company, like possibly got their hands on it in order to make some peripherals and then like made a 3D mock-up in like Photoshop to like describe what it looks like. I don't know, man. But yeah, it looks very similar. There's some weird buttons on the back of the left and the right trigger. There's like a third button over there. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of like how my hand is going to like literally press that thing. Yeah. Because if I'm holding the game like this, I don't know if you're saying it, but like normally when you're holding a Nintendo Switch, you have both of your index and your middle finger on the L and the ZL buttons.
Right.
Where is that weird like third little button on the back go? Is that maybe the release? Do you think it's the release for the rail?
People are saying it's the release because what the theory going around is that these Joy-Cons will attach from the side. That's the theory. So this is kind of like more of a side button kind of thing. So if you look at the picture and you were to hold it down, it would make sense to pull it like to the left. So if you look at the right Joy-Con, like, do you see how kind of your finger like would more so pull it outwards as opposed to upwards with that release button? Like, people are saying these may be attached from the left and the right side as opposed to like starting it from the top of the Switch, then like, putting it down and it clicks in that way. That would make sense because, as you know, the release button it's just, it's not curved any sort of way. It's just a tiny little black button on the back of the Joy-Cons, and you pull it up. This one's kind of more inwards. They say that you pull it out. I don't know if that's even true, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at it, though, on the Joy-Con side, it doesn't appear that there's a rail. Yeah. On like an indentation where, the controller fits into the Nintendo Switch. So like, does that mean it's going to be magnetic and there's like a magnetic pull release on it? Yeah. Because the rail is perfect with the original Nintendo Switch. You literally slide it down and it's locked in there. Like, you cannot get that out. I remember when we first got our hands on a Nintendo Switch, people couldn't get the Joy-Cons out because they didn't know how to do it, right? It was in there. So the fact that it doesn't appear to have some sort of rail in this like Photoshop mock-up makes you wonder, like, how exactly are they going to stick in there, right? I don't know. It's all speculation, man.
What I do like here is that if you look at the Joy-Cons, like the SL and SR buttons look bigger, which might make me more comfortable playing in the horizontal Joy-Con mode. Do you ever find yourself playing with one Joy-Con horizontally? I never.
No way, man. No. See these big hands? Absolutely not.
No way.
I'm not a tiny child. No, but seriously, I like the fact that, oh, hey, you're traveling over here. Hey, break off a Joy-Con. Hey, play Mario Kart with me for a little bit. Like, I'll do it. I feel really dinky doing it. But like you said earlier, the fact that the SL and the SR are a little bit bigger, I'm down for it. But you and I, we're going to be playing with Pro Controllers, as are 90% of the entire fan base. We're going to get that on day one and just like have a proper controller to play. And odds are everything is going to be backwards compatible with the regular Nintendo Switch. So we're just going to bring our Pro Controller over there anyway. Like, I think it's an improvement for the bigger SL and SR buttons if this is the case.
Right. There's so much to unpack here. Look at, do you see the right Joy-Con? There's a new button underneath what I assume is the home button. It looks like another capture button almost. There's something else
on the right Joy-Con?
Right Joy-Con underneath.
It looks like the capture button because, maybe there's two capture buttons. I don't know. Because like under the left Joy-Con, there appears to be like some sort of etched out capture button over there like it always is, and maybe they just added one on the right one because maybe when you break off a Joy-Con and give it to a friend, they want to capture something too.
Right. I didn't even like think about that as being a thing. I just don't know what other button they would add, and it does, as you said, look like another. That makes sense. Like in theory, breaking off the Joy-Cons, both having a capture button, that makes sense. It does kind of ring a bit weird to me though, because if you're not doing that, like you just kind of have two. I don't know. It makes sense how you're describing it. I'm interested to see if that's right, because there are two buttons. I mean, it's
the exact
weird.
same shape, right?
Yes,
it's the exact same shape, and it has that little circle indentation on it. But like, why? Why does that second Joy-Con need the capture button? Then, like, why doesn't the left one have a home button on it, right? Like, why doesn't it have that if you're going to be going for symmetry over here? Mm-hmm. That's not the case. So it's a really weird rendition. The back with that flap looks exactly like, the OLED model with that big hinge rather than the baby kickstand on the first model. Mm-hmm. It looks literally the exact same thing. So I don't know. It lends to me like it's really just like reused hardware, if this is the case. Reused hardware, but just like maybe made the chips on the inside like a little bit more powerful, to be allegedly more powerful than a PS4, right? Like I don't know if that's physically possible with like this kind of hardware, but you never know, man. And like I still like how it's still sleek, because I don't know if you ever put your hands on a Steam Deck.
Yes.
That thing's like, it's bulky, right? Mm-hmm. It's very bulky. And this still seems like it has that, slim Nintendo Switch feel to it, which I absolutely adore. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it.
Although you say that you adore it, do you think that, preference-wise and like sales-wise, being able to tell the difference, do you think that it should have been a little bit more different from the current Switch? Because it looks so similar to where if you put them both side by side, like, they're the same thing. Wii and Wii U, similar, but you can kind of tell which is which. This is like almost the exact same thing. It kind of makes me question whether or not people can tell the difference.
Right. And like, again, if this is what it looks like, right? We have to take everything we're saying with a grain of salt. Like, this is not set in stone. This is not Nintendo's like actual announcement. This is what someone came up with a Photoshop design, allegedly, that they got their hands on it and made a mock-up. So like, that being said, like Nintendo, we can't make the same mistake as the transition from Wii to Wii U. I don't know if you remembered that, but it was very bad. Like, people didn't know that the Wii U was something completely different, right? So the naming concept, the marketing campaign was all a colossal failure for Nintendo Wii U's launch. So just to bring it back on your question, like, do we think that this is going to be any different, or will it sell? That's really up to the marketing department, right? Yeah. It's up to the marketing department to really push out. Either they're going to name it something completely different, because if they call it Switch 2, people may not know that it's like a better version, right? Or maybe they might think it's like a side upgrade, like a PS5 Pro. Yeah. Or maybe that's what they're actually going for. Like, we don't have any of those details, but I'm excited to see what the name is going to be and what the marketing department is going to do to make sure they differentiate everything. I think the only thing that is going to be the best seller for me is the fact that you're going to be able to transfer all of your old Nintendo Switch stuff to it, be it your entire game library, be it backwards compatible with the cartridge, backwards compatible with Pro controllers and other Bluetooth devices. Like, that's what needs to be the number one. And I think the marketing team has to do such an amazing job with really showing how they're different, but yet similar at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens with that.
And I don't think that the whole marketing side of it gets looked at very much. I mean, if you remember when they showed off the Wii U at E3, I believe the entire trailer, like the main one, was just saying, play on the new controller, draw on the new. It was being advertised as a new controller as opposed to hey, our brand new console for the next 2 years. That's awful. I think, as you were saying, they really need to say, hey, this is totally brand new. Do you think they should have Switch in the name even?
I think that the Switch brand is very powerful, right? Because we've had that, for X amount of years since the launch, right? That's really huge. So I don't know, man. I don't know how they're going to do it. If they leave Switch in there, they run the risk of consumer confusion, right? Exactly. Case in point, the Wii U, right? That's consumer confusion. People who are not in the sphere, they don't know the difference. But at the same time, if you leave Switch in there, then people know the name Nintendo Switch. They've been knowing it for 8 years. Like, they have that brand recognition. So it's really like a rock and a hard place. Like, you either you go with the Switch name or you go with the Switch name and then you try to prevent the confusion with marketing materials and all those promotions that show it's an upgrade, it's the next successor, or not, man. Like, it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. There's actually one picture that I failed to add to our notes here where I'm not sure if you saw it. There's actually, I want to bring this up, a USB-C port on the top of the system. Did you at all see that?
No, I mean, what's the point? It's just a charger. Like, to charge it up. No,
but there's also one at the bottom. Which, do you think that's just for like tabletop mode? You can plug it in and charge that way.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's a better design, right? The USB-C for the bottom, that makes sense because that'll just fit into the dock, right? That'll just be USB-C into the dock, and then tabletop mode was a hard one, right? It was a really hard one, and the only way that they combated that was adding like a little notch, right? Like, I don't even know if you can actually put that in there. Maybe if you had the charger like plugged in and you like tilted it at an angle, then you can charge it,
right? But
I think it's genius to throw that on top just in case you need it. Like, where's the harm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then one more thing. There's apparently a built-in microphone, which the Switch does not have. How far do you think they'll go with that? Because, like, for me, when they had it on DS and 3DS, like, even just small little things, games didn't have to be microphone heavy. Like, something like Animal Crossing New Leaf, they had this megaphone feature where you could, like, scream for a villager's name. Like, if Sherb was on my New Leaf, Sherb's not in New Leaf, but for example, Sherb, and then, you would find out where he is on the town. You have games like Mario Party, where there's that one mini game that you might recall from Island Tour where, like, you have to do a character impression, like sound like them. There's games like that I think are really cool. How much do you think they'll actually use the microphone, like party chat or anything, or like have access to that? What do you think? What's your take?
Yeah, it's that's a tough one. You covered a lot of bases with that. I think that you covered the base of retro gaming pretty well. Having some weird backwards compatibility with whatever library they're going to release, because microphone has been around, like you said, since the DS era. And honestly, we don't really have a way of interacting that way. So some of the games, if you were to port them over to Nintendo Switch, they would be soft locked at certain parts where you had to blow into the mic or speak something, right? So that's why we don't have some of those games. So I think that's great for backwards compatibility. I think that we run into an issue of developer ideas when it comes to newer games. On whether or not they want to develop for built-in microphone or not. I mean, no one's forcing them to do that, but I think that if the developers utilize all the aspects of the Nintendo Switch, including the mic, including the NFC reader, like, that's a really, really well-polished game, and they thought outside the box. So I think there's that development aspect of it. And then ultimately, like you said earlier, is going to be the third aspect, which is the concept of voice chatting. Right? Nintendo's always been super afraid of that because they wanted to preserve the family friendliness and not give any bad experiences by going online, hence the ESRB not rating online interactions because you can't, right? So that kind of concept is going to be pretty cool, and it is future forward if that's the case, because I'm sure they can partner up with Discord or whatever Nintendo, software that allows you to voice chat with people. I'm sure they can figure that out because that's kind of where where the future is with gaming, right? It's that online interactivity. And so I think they're just like releasing the reins just a little bit, right? They're just loosening the reins to like give people some more options on what they want to do with that.
Because there's a microphone, and you brought it up, do you think that they would go back to DS and 3DS for like some backwards compatibility? It's kind of hard though, because like, how do you make that work, kind of thing?
Oh, they could totally do it. Yeah, absolutely. Like DS and 3DS, like that's just the DS is literally two screens the exact same size, and I'm 100% sure you could fit those on the Nintendo Switch screen right
Yeah,
over
it just
there,
looks
side
kind
by
of
side.
odd though, right?
I mean, then maybe you can, I don't know, press some sort of settings button and have them have different layouts, like maybe, 75% one screen, 25% the other, like right next to each other. There's so many ways that you can mess around with those screens on a flat Nintendo Switch rectangular screens. The possibilities are endless, and I'm sure that they can have some presets along with that. And kind of like what I said earlier, one of the biggest things for Nintendo right now is combating piracy. Right? Like they're shutting down all these emulator things and all these sites that are hosting these ROMs, right? They're doing that because it's a never ending struggle. But like the way that we can remove a lot of that piracy is just having the ability to purchase old games. So if the Nintendo Switch successor has a microphone in there, then like there's no limits on what they can port previously, right?
Yeah.
3DS games, DS games, GameCube, Wii, like the library that Nintendo is sitting on is a gold mine. It's a literal gold mine. And I'll throw this question to you. Like, don't you think that it would be an amazing time if the Switch successor said, you know what? Hey, we have all the games you want to possibly imagine, right? The virtual console has every game that you grew up with. Like, wouldn't that be enough to like really just sell everything?
Like, in what sense? Like, what do you mean sell everything? Like, stop piracy?
To sell like all like the $7.99 game that you grew up with on GameCube, right? Or just to sell the new Switch successor. That would be like an instant win, like
Yes.
huge W, because who wouldn't go for that, right?
It would be fantastic. And as you said, whenever I see people pirating games, their main excuse for it is, well, there's no way to officially buy it. If you give them one, as you were saying, it'll stop that. I would love that though. Even if, NES games, SNES, N64, even if all of that is free with Switch Online, I would love if they could, even just do $10 GameCube game or, however much they want to price those. And I feel like games for 3DS and DS, you're not seeing many remakes and remasters. Of course, we have Miitopia, Luigi's Mansion, but not as many as like the GameCube is getting. Paper Mario, Metroid, Pikmin, not as many. So I feel like those could work really well. Just being brought over and being sold on the eShop, and they did it with the Wii U, not 3DS and DS. Well, DS actually they had done. You could buy New Super Mario Bros. DS on the Wii U. You can buy Mario Kart DS on the Wii U. You can buy all those on the Wii U. It worked before, and I actually really liked that model, and a lot of people did. I would love to see any of that come over. Just having all of it on one system too, so then you don't have to go back and pull out the 3DS and everything, and people.
And it's hard. Like, but let's be clear. Like, pirates are still going to pirate.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Even if we have all the games, they're still going to do that. But like, it'll dissuade a lot of people who are a little bit more honest and want to support Nintendo. And like, if the emulators can emulate 3DS. Like, come on now. You don't think that we can just throw the exact ROM of whatever 3DS game on this brand new system? Like that, it just makes zero sense why they haven't done that. So it's crazy.
It's just perfect all around because like even there's people who want to get 3DS capture cards in this day and age for whatever reason. I mean, I'm one of them to be honest, but that'll give you a out. Like it'll give you 3DS games on the big screen. It's what everyone wants. It's fantastic. I think that they should do that. Do you think, along with 3DS stuff and DS stuff, there's no way that there's Wii U backwards compatibility, is there? Like Nintendo.
Why not?
You can't make it work though, because it's like a gamepad screen. But of course, you can do two screens on one screen. But the gamepad screen is way more involved. You can't really afford to have that one be too small.
Yeah. So, that one's a really tough one, especially where the proper Wii U games, let's just say that, right?
Yeah,
Wii U is really weird, right? Proper Wii U games with like something different on the actual gamepad than just a mirror image or a map, right? Proper Wii U games would be really hard to replicate. But all those lazy Wii U games where they just added a map on the bottom handheld screen, that's easily able to be done. I mean, that would be really, really hard. But I mean, like GameCube, Wii U, 3DS, DS, and everything under that, I can totally see them having the ability to just throw those ports on there and sell it for X amount of money, right? I mean, obviously, like a 3DS game was what, MSRP $50, $40,
40 or so, yeah.
Yeah. So like keep it around there, maybe like $35, right? Not $10 because then that would be pretty rough. But I mean, like it's a genius business sense, and I think Nintendo's sitting on a gold mine of all of their IPs, all their games, and I completely understand having to renew licenses in order to get those games on there, right? That's why we don't have so many, third-party games on Nintendo Switch Online, because like it costs like millions of dollars to get those licenses from like Diddy Kong Racing or Banjo-Tooie or Donkey Kong 64. Like that's rare. That's Microsoft, man. So like they have to pay Microsoft millions of dollars to get that on there. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to see what they end up doing. But I mean, I think that's the no holds barred, the winner, the end all be all of like the literal epitome of what a Nintendo Switch system should be. You should be able to have access to all of the other games via purchasing on a virtual console. That's what it should be.
Right. Now, to close out the segment here, this Switch 2, it's nice. It's awesome. We want backwards compatibility. We want everything. It was a great conversation. Let's go here. This releases, you go and pick it up day one, you come home, you open it, and you have this in your hands without knowing more than what we know. Are you happy with the Switch 2? Like, is this all you want in it? Of course, we don't know what games, what it'll look like on, the screen and everything. Is this good with you, this kind of Switch?
What do you mean? Like, describe this kind of Switch.
Or like this Switch 2 model, based on what we see, if you were to buy this is the Switch 2. If this is really it, are you satisfied? Or would you have wanted more, wanted it to be different?
Yeah, I mean, just hardware alone, who cares, right? Like, that's one of those things where it seems like a side grade from, like, for example, the launch Switch to the OLED, right? How many people traded theirs in or even bought a new one just for a brighter screen? Like, I can care less about that, man. I play in docked mode anytime, right? So based off of what the alleged things are over here, wow, 12 gigabytes of RAM, wow, 256 gigabyte, who cares? Like, this doesn't mean anything to me. I would not shell out anything for it other than the fact that, it's the new one and it's future proof because they're just going to do something with it. What really matters is what comes with it, right? There has to be a brand new Mario Kart, a brand new Zelda, a brand new Mario game that launches alongside it, right? That's playable only on that system in order to really hook me in. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like there's got to be that virtual console to like really make it for me. But like otherwise, like who cares about any of these specs? Like I don't care about that. Like what's the point? Give me the games, give me the exclusives, give me whatever is next on the horizon. So, I mean, to answer your question, yes and no. Am I going to buy it because it's a brand new Nintendo Switch? Of course I am. Like, easily, because I have the disposable money to do that. But for the average consumer, like, unless you really sell it on marketing materials, what launches there are, what exclusives, what other things you can do with it, like, why buy it, right? Why buy it? Which is the same concept as like the competitor, which is PlayStation right now with their, PS5 Pro. And they just released that there's a cool retro PS5 Pro skin that's like, it replicates like an original PS1 where people are like, oh, I wasn't going to get that, but now maybe I want to, right? Like, what's the point, right? What's the point of spending another $700 on that thing? What's the point of spending whatever, $400, $500, whatever the price point is going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2? Unless you have all the information in front of you. And right now, we're just grasping for straws. We're believing every little claim that any little Twitter outlet says. And I don't know if you remember, but like remember before the Nintendo Switch, they had this weird oval looking Nintendo Switch. Like, here we go again, right?
Yeah.
You remember that weird glass oval?
It was
with
terrible.
Like two like joysticks?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Someone made a rendition, someone 3D printed one out. There are even people who out there like who pretended to have a Nintendo Switch or whatever. Like, it's just silly right now. And honestly, I think we just need more information. We need a little bit more patience, and it'll come when Nintendo's ready for it,
Yeah, but for you, it's the games that'll kind of get you excited, kind of get you in.
Yeah, because like, why would I buy another one, right? Then I got to go through a whole like transfer process of my digital library. And like, unless there's like a really solid reason to get it, like, And it depends on your wallet too. People don't have $300 to $400 ready and able to be spent on it.
Right.
And people are going to be trading in their old Nintendo Switches to like GameStop for like $100, right? To maybe get a discount on the new thing. So I don't know, man. I'm down for it, but like these specs they're not really selling me.
Yeah. For me, I kind of wanted it to, of course, this is maybe not even real. We don't even know. If this was real, this is what gets revealed. I maybe wanted it to look a little bit different. Maybe like some more ergonomic Joy-Cons. Because like for me, the Steam Deck, I mean, of course, it doesn't have Joy-Cons. But for me, I feel like that's a little bit more comfortable to hold for a longer period of time because it is so bulky. Whereas with the Switch, I have these third-party Joy-Cons that are like, it's like if you cut a controller in half, it like has that grip to it. It's nice in that way. I wish, I'm not asking for that necessarily, but like just a different kind of Switch I kind of wanted here. It's fine. It does what it needs to do. Kickstand, detachable Joy-Cons. It is what it is, and it's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
I just like new gimmicks, kind of. And, once again, they could totally still have that with something that we don't know yet. Even if this is real, we might not know something that's coming along with the Switch. Who knows if there's two screens and you get both and one goes in the dock and one you hold? Who knows what the gimmick is? I'm not saying that that's it, but if this is really it, I wish there was a little bit more newness to it, but I am satisfied with it.
Sure. Okay, so you mentioned one gimmick, which was like dual screens. Cool. Love that idea, right? There's some, Samsung phones nowadays that have, seamless screens like that. Who says they can't go through and have that kind of technology?
Sure.
But like, what other gimmick are you looking for that would put you over the edge? They're definitely not doing VR. Like, they've tried that and failed, and it's really, really gimmicky and no one cares about it. So like, what else is there that you would low-key expect Nintendo to do in order to continue the gimmick?
It's hard for me to come up with, but like something from the Wii. You go to the Wii U with the same concept, but you do have that gamepad screen, which allows for camera, microphone, so many brand new features that you didn't previously have. Something like that. It's hard for me to name a specific gimmick, but just where it feels totally new. Whereas with this, I feel like it's Switch, but it's Switch 2 as far as we currently know. I just want that refreshing feel of like things are going to be much more different. There's a whole new screen. I don't need a new screen, but to where it feels fresh in that regard.
It's interesting because like from our limited brain genius between both of us probably put together, like we can't fathom something so gimmicky that's never been done before outside of VR, right? We can't even fathom what that could be. And I don't know if any of our listeners can even think of that either. So like outside of adding a camera, maybe adding, I don't know, smells, 4D smells, like, come on now. Like, what else is Nintendo going to do? Like, I think right now is like, the gimmick is portable gameplay at any time, anywhere, right? Like, that's their gimmick and they're standing by that. And I think that maybe they might take a step back from the innovative gimmicks and just really focus on maybe processing power. Now they're trying to catch up to like their competitors and really just more games. Right? Like, because I don't know what else they're going to do, but we know for a fact that they've been working on developing Switch successor games for the past 2 or 3 years, most likely, because our 2024 calendar was very light with actually new titles. And what do we have? Princess Peach Showtime as a new title that they pawned off on Good Feel.
Right.
We've got the new Zelda game, which is one title for an entire year. That's brand new. Like, come on, man. They're not sleeping at the wheel, but they're just like really getting the ports and the remakes, passing that over to an extra dev team, and just like really working behind the scenes on the latest and greatest new titles on this probably more powerful hardware. So like, I don't really know what gimmick you're expecting or wanting to have some sort of gimmick on there. As much as I love the gimmicks, and you could take a look at Nintendo evolving through the generations of their console, they always add something brand new to it. But I think that everything's been done, man. Everything's really been done. And now it's just really, okay, bring it back to what Nintendo is. Nintendo is all about the gameplay, the innovative, the different games that come out, and nostalgia, man. Nintendo is such a they love the nostalgia. They play to nostalgia all the time with their IPs. They're so strong. And people that grew up in like the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, like they still have those games they grew up with. And like, imagine if they put those on there, then that's your moneymaker. Man, I would love to hear from anyone that's listening over here. What gimmick do you guys think the Switch successor should have that would make it worth purchasing, right? I would love to hear those ideas.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we probably won't have any, like, 2 screens or anything, but even if, you know, and this is crazy to even say, but maybe not this, but if they did bring back something like, this sounds stupid, so please, Miiverse.
Go, dude.
If they could bring something to make it, I just want to feel like it's a fresh new console, and I'm sure that it will feel that way. It's just going off of this, that's where I get a little bit stuck. That's all.
And like, that's the thing though, like right now, both you and I, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment, right? Because we have all these expectations and wants and needs, right? That we're seeing on all these leaks over here. And then when Nintendo comes out next year with their Nintendo Switch successor Direct, we're like, oh yeah, you know, I want like VR and cameras and smell technologies and dual screens and this, that. And then like Nintendo doesn't deliver that. It's just like, oh, okay, great.
Right.
Weird, man. Weird. We'll see what happens, though, right?
It's going to be exciting. We're going to see what happens. But, my friends, that is our Switch 2 talk. Let's go ahead and get to our next segment, the question block, the Q&A segment. You all asked me in Abdallah questions. Let's go ahead and answer them. The question block segment, your favorite segment, the Q&A segment, my friends. Welcome on into it. You all asked me in Abdallah questions. We are answering them today. I believe we have about 8 or so questions taken. If you want to ask a question, there are 2 ways to do so. One, a lot of you probably are subscribed to my main channel. I post on the community tab every single Tuesday. It used to be Wednesday. It's Tuesday, asking for questions. You can write some there. Or if you do not want to wait until Tuesday, I have a Discord server. You can write your questions in there, and we will take some from there as well. Link down below to do so. And our first question here comes from I Like Trains, who asks, how do you think Nintendo will continue to innovate with the Switch? Or do you see a new console on the horizon that might shake things up even more? Well, we know that there's a new console on the horizon, right?
Right. And I mean, we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier as far as what do we think Nintendo will do to innovate with the Switch. I think it's going to be better hardware that is a little bit stronger to give us more possibilities of bigger open world games and faster, run speeds and, consistent 60 FPS in the generation that we're in 2024. And of course, like actually paying the dev dollars for like voice acted voice lines, right? Like more consistently to like hold all of that data within a cartridge. I think that's really the only, innovation that we're going to be doing with the Nintendo Switch right now.
I agree. With the Switch, well, with the first Switch, I mean, the only innovation going on is we're adding new SNES games. Yay! Like, we're not getting, like, anything mind-blowing as of right now. The innovation, I feel, was with, them adding in Game Boy Advance games. Like, this is kind of like adding new stuff. With the Switch, too, I mean, as much as I was hoping for a gimmick in our last segment, and I'm, just hoping that happens, I think the real innovation, as you were saying, is going to be in the games. Like getting my biggest thing. Abdallah, I'm a big Animal Crossing fan. Something that we haven't even touched on. Dude, when you were making Animal Crossing content, I was tuned in. I was like, that was like my start on YouTube. I was a little Animal Crossing creator.
Heck yeah.
Like 1,000, 2,000 subs. And like, I was trying to do it. I was a big fan of Animal Crossing. And my biggest thing with that game, not biggest, but one of my things, can we not get this at 60 frames per second? Like, City Folk was 60 frames per second. I just missed it. I want games like that to be 60. I want, as you were saying, just better open world stuff. That's kind of what I want. Innovation with Switch 1 is kind of tough, though. I feel like we're kind of done with it.
Yeah, like the Switch itself is the definition of innovation, right?
Yeah.
Like taking it anywhere, right? Going from having this Wii U gamepad, which was literally the prototype for Switch, and having it, stand alone anytime, anywhere. That's the innovation for Switch. Again, without beating a dead horse, like we don't really know what's going to happen with like true innovation for the next one.
Right.
And that's why I really only think it's going to be like a side upgrade with better graphics and whatnot. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Pootrick Animations asks, do you believe that the Switch's eShop would get shut down by the early 2030s? We're making some predictions here.
2030s? That's like 5 years from now?
So far.
No, I don't think so, man. No. The eShop, I think, is going to be transferable. I think the eShop is 100% going to be transferable. You're going to be transferring all the things that you purchase, your digital library on Switch, to the Switch successor. So, 6 years, 5-year lifespan of that? Absolutely not. No.
I agree.
So no, I think that's way too early.
I agree. I think the Switch 2 will have the Switch and the Switch 2 will have the first same eShop almost, where you'll see some games. Well, on Switch 2, you'll see pretty much every game on the Switch that you can buy. It's like a Switch game, but works with Switch 2. And then you'll see some games like the new 3D Mario, the new Mario Kart game, which will say Switch 2 compatible. And I think a good marketing move is to, even if we get Mario Kart 9, put it on the Switch eShop forever and say Switch 2 compatible, and say, hey, it's for a new console, and you kind of get people over that way. I think this is the first double backwards compatible type eShop. I don't think it'll shut down that soon, or early 2030s. No, I don't think so, but it'll be interesting. Dodge Bros asks, did you get any Street Passes back in the day, and did you take your 3DS or 2DS a lot of places?
We didn't even touch base on talking about bringing back Street Pass.
Right.
I think that Street Pass was the coolest concept. And that was one of those extra development points that developers either made or did not make. I use my 3DS Street Pass all the time. Huge Yokai Watch fan, and very similar to Pokemon, where you have to collect these monsters and battle them. There was one yokai that was heavily reliant on Street Pass, and it was like a 1 in 1,000 chance if you Street Passed someone, that yokai would show up. So everyone got super upset because they couldn't get it because they weren't at places of Street Pass to other people. So yeah, I love that concept. And if they brought that back to the next Switch successor, I think that would be phenomenal.
I would get Street Passes accidentally. I was a kid, I was bringing my 3DS and 2DS. Well, I had a 3DS at the time. Now I have the 2DS XL. I was bringing that on road trips, and I would see that little green light flash. And honestly, I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, whatever that is. I didn't know what it was until I kind of put 2 and 2 together, that it's that Street Pass app that has the green light on the actual app icon. So to answer, I got maybe 40 Street Passes in my days. It's not a crazy amount, but I never went to these. If you went to a convention nowadays, you'd probably get a few, because people kind of bring their 3DSs there. I would like for it to be on the next Switch, because I'm not sure how you feel about this. I feel that Nintendo's doing very well at listening to us, honestly. You don't just bring back Mario and Luigi out of nowhere. I feel like it's been a thing that people want. I had some other examples in my head, but listening, even with Animal Crossing, we can bring it up again. The whole 2.0 update, everything that we wanted, we got. Brewster, Cap'n, changing types of furniture, customizing fences. Every tiny thing we got. I feel like they're very good at listening. I think Street Pass could very well come back.
Yeah, I love that. We still didn't get Captain's Islands though, man.
So,
don't tell me we got everything we wanted, man. Captain's multiplayer island, we got nothing like that.
It was just Cap'n, and he takes you to a random island, different time zone.
And you could bring 8 people, man, to play mini games like hide and seek. Why didn't they do that? Anyway, not to go off topic.
No, it was
that still burns me.
It was amazing.
I'm burnt, man.
I wish we had it. Mobile Masters asks, if you could choose one thing to change about any Nintendo game, what would it be? Choose one thing to change.
Oh man, I just want. I'm not gonna say one game. I'm gonna say all the games. Man.
Okay.
I think that the development cycle in the Nintendo Switch games of recent, I wanted a lot more polish from them. as far as like amiibo support, right? Like, or online connectivity, like really robust stuff like that. Because like, remember when amiibo launched in Wii U, like that was so cool. Toys to life, scan it in, you get some costumes. But like over time, the development team just like forgot about them, or that takes extra dev time to, tap something in over there, right? As an avid amiibo collector, that's like a slap in the face, man. These are like $13 paperweights now. Like, why aren't you putting the development process in there to give us some cool little costumes or some little cosmetics for that? I just think that the polish for Nintendo games just aren't there. And I feel that they're like, okay, well, you got to get this game on a release date. And if you don't get it, then maybe I'll give you enough time to do some DLC to finish up your homework, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like school. Like, okay, your teacher is asking you for, your project, and then you turn it in halfway done. You're like, I mean, this is what we can do, so maybe we'll just finish it 6 months from now. Switch Sports was the exact same thing, right? It's like, oh, hey, Switch Sports came out with 4 games. Wow. Well, like Nintendo Wii Sports Resort had like 12 games on it, dude. What are you doing? It's 2024. And then like 3 years later, it's like, hey guys, remember us? I turned in my homework and here's golf. Or like, here's basketball or whatever the heck that was. Like, that's not polished for me. And like, that's unacceptable. And that's what I want to change. I want the games to be polished. I want them to be, give me your best foot forward, and don't give me this like nonsense, oh, we're going to finish up the game like in months from now. Like, I don't need that. I need that polish. So
Yeah.
You can answer now. Give me one question, man.
I
Or
will
one
say
game.
one thing about that. There's no reason to like Switch Sports comes out. There's no reason to buy it on day one, because if someone who buys it day one and somebody who buys it tomorrow, the person who buys it tomorrow is getting a way better game than the person did on day one. That's so backwards, I feel like. I feel like if you're buying it day one, you should maybe get things that the other person who buys it 3 years later doesn't get. I think that whole system is backwards about adding DLC later. It's choose one thing to change about any game. Bro, I would change how Cap'n works in Animal Crossing New Horizons. I would change that. Bring back Tortimer Island. That would be great. I was just playing it the other day with a friend via local play, because online servers shut down. We were local playing Tortimer Island, and that was so much fun. I wish that would come back. I'm trying to think of a better answer, but honestly, that is my answer. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
All right, dude. I'm coming over with my 3DS and we're gonna make a video
for sure.
All the things, the number one thing we missed in Animal Crossing New Horizons. We'll make that 2-part video.
Collab coming soon. Green Croc asks, which Mario Kart track would you like to live in?
Ooh, that's a good one. Mario Kart 7's Neo Bowser City.
That's a
easy
great one.
mode. Neo Bowser City. It's like futuristic. There's flying cars everywhere. Looks like you're living in the set of Blade Runner, the movie. It just looks really cool, and I would love to see what other technology has advanced in that realm. Right? Like, how are you getting flying cars and like futuristic tracks? Like, what?
Yeah, for me, that's a great pick. It would either be, it's called Sunshine Airport, right?
Okay, yeah,
it's an airport. Why do you want to live there? But it just looks so positive and everything. It just looks nice. Maybe I wouldn't live there. So the answer then becomes Animal Crossing. That's basic. I feel like there's not great places to live because you're just living on racetracks. Like, you're living Baby Park. You're living at Wario's Gold Mine. I mean, yeah, Baby Park is cool, but it's full of babies. It's not quite for me. I don't think
you fit in those rides, man.
I think, final answer, I would go. This is tough. Maybe Mario Circuit. That's a weird track to live on, but if you look around, it just looks nice. The music's good.
Hold on, there's like 7 Mario circuits.
Oh, sorry. The whatever one is on the Mario Kart 8. So whichever that one level? Is. Yes, right.
Oh, or no, hold on. No, that's Mario Stadium, right? Mario Kart Stadium.
Oh yeah. Whatever whatever the new one is, like the one that has, I'm blanking here. It's been a while. The new Mario Kart 8 one. That's my pick.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Camden asks, funny question, if you could be any type of Pikmin, Abdallah, which would you choose?
Ooh, Pikmin. I would probably be a blue Pikmin. I think that the ability to explore underwater without really having to breathe is really cool. I think that's like that outweighs everything, right? Having the ability to just like swim into the water and look around and explore.
Yeah.
Although like being a Pikmin like less than like an inch tall over here, I would probably get eaten by any fish.
For sure.
So I don't know. I don't know. I like the water exploration aspect of it, but to be another Pikmin, I don't know. Maybe the ghost green Pikmin, so you can like go through walls and just be invincible. You know what? Maybe that's the answer, right? Because the ghost Pikmin, I think, could go underwater if they really want to, because they're like already dead. Or the glow Pikmin.
Glow.
Yeah. You tell me. How about you?
Either of those are the most useful. I would honestly probably pick the purple Pikmin, the nice and strong ones. I would probably pick purple Pikmin. Maybe I can.
Maybe you could pick up a penny
weights.
by yourself.
Maybe so. Maybe I could lift
a penny.
1 ounce dumbbell. They make those? Probably not. Well, who knows? Cool Kid asks, favorite type of console, hybrid, handheld, home, or VR?
Dude. Hybrid? Because it does everything. Why would you choose anything other? Like the Nintendo Switch, that's it.
But at the same time, hybrid, for example, might be less powerful than a strict home console. I'm not sure why you would choose handheld, but it might be less powerful,
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's always been less powerful. Like, that's always a thing. Right?
But, like, for
and
any kind of console.
I think I'm still going to go with hybrid. Okay. It may not be the most powerful, but, like, I love the idea of bringing it places. Like, I do a lot of traveling to conventions, and, like, when I'm on the plane for, like, 3 to 4 hours, like, what am I doing? I would love to just, like, sit back and play a brand new game and just play it on the go. And then just dock it wherever I want and play it on stream or something.
Yeah.
I think that concept is just like, it's so timeless that everyone is copying it, right? Like everyone and their moms is copying that concept. So that's it. Nothing beats it.
It's perfect.
Same answer. Not VR. You're not going to go HTC Vive 2, whatever, Meta Quest 3.
I think I would actually go. Here's the thing. Home console would be the answer, but if that means that Nintendo wouldn't make handhelds, then I don't want it. Like, if this is any kind of console, I like home consoles. But if I'm picking home console over hybrid and over handheld, I can't do it. I'm just saying, like, in general, like Xbox, is a home console. I like that type. So I would pick that. Home console, pretty powerful. But if that means Nintendo will only make home consoles, I can't pick it that way. I would then go hybrid.
There we go. Hybrid is always the answer.
Indeed.
I don't think anyone's into the VR, man.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I've got a Meta Quest 2 or whatever it is. It was fun. It's gimmicky.
Yeah.
I think I banged my elbow into a couple walls a couple times, but I don't know. I think it's slept on. It's a slept on technology, and it's not for everyone.
I have a PSVR, and it was cool for like the first month, but then you kind of start getting like motion, like nauseous almost kind of being in there. That's for me anyway, not everybody. But and then it just kind of becomes less and less like revolutionary and fun as the time goes on. It's neat for sure, but I don't spend more than like half an hour in there. It's just not the optimal way for me. But to close everything out, the Switch 2 talk, Tape Man asks, do you think Switch 2 will be a success? Of course, we don't know for sure because marketing can go either way. But if you had to bet, somebody came to you, Abdallah, and said, which one would you bet on? Yes or no? Will it be a success? What do you think?
Why do you even ask this question? Tape Man 9000, man. Of course, it's a yes or no question. Of course, it's gonna be successful. Yeah, done. It's like, who honestly thinks it's gonna be a failure? Like that's the big thing, right? They're gonna develop new games for it. It's going to be a brand new piece of hardware. I don't think it's gonna fail if it's going to be like a slightly upgraded version, man. But like if they go all in on VR, then I don't think that it's going to be a success because not like you said, you get nauseous with VR. I remember playing VR with one of my friends, and then I hear them throwing up all of a sudden because they got super nauseous.
Yeah.
So, like, it depends. We don't even know what the Switch 2 is going to be, man.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, dude, they got a lot of things going for it, and we're all fans of Nintendo, so we're gonna buy it either way. So we'll see what happens.
But at the same time, new hardware, upgrade. These are all the same things that we could have said about the Wii U, though, and that kind of was a failure. Pretty much was a failure. So we don't know yet, you know? It's tough.
Man. Yeah, that's true. But, like, I think Nintendo's done a really good job of learning from mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the history of the generations of consoles is. It's like it's all an evolution, and they learn what works and what doesn't. And I think that, you know, they're under a lot of new management right now. And so I think they're not going to let it fail, just based on what kind of day and age that we live in right now, where they've already made tons of mistakes. You know, they had the Virtual Boy. Remember that, like, failure of a VR thing way back in the day? And like you said, the Wii U's launch was a failure. Not many people liked it, and the devs didn't want to develop for it. So I think objectively it will be a success, because everything that Nintendo's doing right now is riding on it, right? They stopped development on all of their Switch games. They're not developing any more Switch games outside of this new Zelda game that comes out. They're just done. And if they're going to do anything, they're going to throw ports like Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, right? Like, who needs that? So, like, that's the thing. They're putting all their eggs in one basket, and they're going to make it a success. And they're going to find the right price point. They're going to find the right launch titles. They're going to find the right influencers like you and I to really promote it organically. And that's really it. There's no way this thing could possibly fail.
Yeah, I do think it'll succeed as well. I just have to wonder, like, you know, and I don't think that they're expecting it to sell the same amount as Switch, but you just look at Wii to Wii U. Of course, that's a bad example, but like NES to SNES, Game Boy to Game Boy Advance, the sequel to the console, the second one, never ever sells better. I'm not saying that it has to sell better to be a success, but it's definitely got a cap to it, you know? Like, Switch didn't have any kind of cap. Like, sell 140 million. The Switch 2, I feel like, how many are you really going to sell? That's the tough part for me. I think it will be successful, though.
Yeah. But, like, we're basing it off of it being a sequel, right? Like the Game Boy to Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Advance SP. We're thinking that that's it. But what if it's not? What if it's something out of left field that nobody knows about? Like, all these prototype pictures that we're seeing allegedly, like, it could be, like we said, the little oval disc thing that we saw rumored of what the Nintendo Switch was going to be. It could be the exact same thing as that. What if it's going to be like a full-on home console that's as powerful as a PS4 or a PS5 or an Xbox or whatever it is? Like, we don't know what the heck's happening over here. But, I mean, behind the scenes, you better believe that there are manufacturers getting their hands on it. They're on NDAs, of course. There are developers getting their hands on dev kits. Like, all that stuff is out in the wild, right? Like, we cannot deny that. Because for a perfect launch, you need all of the third-party accessories to, you know, be there for, you know, handhelds, new controller, grips, cases, all that stuff. They need those specs. So it's just everyone's on NDA, and that's fine. Cool, respect it. So we don't know what the heck's going to happen over here.
The argument there is, in their investors meeting, they were saying that the best way to describe this console is the successor to the Switch. And when they were announcing Switch, they did not say, like, successor to 3DS. It was like a totally new thing. So that kind of leads people to think that it will be pretty much like the same type.
Again, I mean, I'm going to be cool with it either way. Like, again, it's all the marketing, it's all the fans, it's all the organic people that are just going to get this no matter what.
Yeah.
And they're going to make the bundles available. They're going to make it so successful with whatever they're going to package with launch titles, man. We haven't had a new Mario launch title since, like, what? Or like a new Mario 3D platformer since Odyssey. And that was how many years ago? Right?
7,
we're jonesing for that. And so, like, you launch the Mario title, dude, you're done. That's it. Everyone's buying it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, man.
I'm
excited.
Yeah, it's all exciting stuff. We'll see. All we have to do is sit back and watch it happen. It's fantastic stuff. But my friends, that is it for the Mario Matter episode 107. Abdallah, thank you for your time, and thank you for coming on. Are there any upcoming projects that you want to promote? Any kind of cool upcoming things in the future for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just like yourself, covering all the latest Nintendo games. I'm going through right now and doing a marathon of all of the old 3DS and DS Mario and Luigi games. Like literally, we just finished up Partners in Time. We're going through Bowser's Inside Story. We're going to do Paper Jam and Dream Team. We're going to knock all these out and just get really excited for the upcoming the Brothership game. That's going to be super fun. So other than that, Zelda's coming out. We've got, a new Pokemon Legends coming out next year. I can't wait for that one. But yeah, it's all the same stuff. So feel free to find me on YouTube, Twitch, AbdallahSmash, everywhere on social, and you'll be able to keep up with me and see what's going on with family-friendly Nintendo gaming content.
One question though, how are you getting through the whole Mario and Luigi series? Because I was going to do that. I love to replay all the games, like, right before the new one comes out. Those are like 40-hour games though. Some of them.
Some of them are.
That's a lot.
I mean, it's just stream a little bit every day and knock it out. The Superstar Saga, it's like, right around 40 hours. Not too bad. So like about a week of streaming, get it knocked out. And mid-November is coming around the corner. So I got my work cut out ahead of me. So we'll see what happens.
Go check them out over there, my friends. All links down below. We will see you, or I will see you next time. Abdallah, thank you so much. We will see you soon. And take care, and hopefully switch to... I was going to say happens soon, but that's not much of a reality, is it?
No. Give it March next year, and then we'll hear some stuff.
March next year. We'll see you then. Take care. Have a good one. Adios.
See ya.